You are muted.
Good afternoon, Matt.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those days.
Same here. I was up at 4 and on the road shortly after 5 for a 3-hour drive and to Brunswick, and now I'm back in Augusta.
Oh, that's a haul.
It's a long day. Mike, how are you?
Mike, you're muted.
Mike, you're muted if you were trying to talk.
And I was, and I apologize. Hi, Peter. How are you? Matt, how are you? How's everything going other than being tired?
Great. Things are going good. Historically, do we let it in right from the get-go, or should we wait till 4:30? How do you like to handle that?
Oh, it's usually the chairman's call, but usually the public is let in at 4:30.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, no, I'm ready for this pregnancy stuff to be done with.
What's the ETA?
Any day.
Oh, really?
It's how it's been for about a week.
That's exciting.
It's the waiting games is what's giving me anxiety. I can't stand this not having like a set date. I usually have a plan A, plan B, plan C, and with something unexpected like this, it's very hard to plan.
Unless they're going to be induced, there's never a set date.
If she doesn't give birth by Tuesday, then we'll have an induction date.
And usually if they are going to have them, they're either going to have them very early in the morning, post 2-3 o'clock in the morning, or very early in the evening. It seems like the midday is absolutely out of the question.
Lunchtime. I'll be right back. I gotta just do something before we start.
Looks like you picked a good chair there, Mike.
Actually, I did for a change.
Usually
Actually, I did. I decided to change locations. How's everything?
As good as can be, I guess. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. Babysat most of the day, so. Other than that, no. I haven't had an opportunity to see you or share anything else, but my oldest son, his wife, and his 4 daughters all have COVID, including the 7-month-old baby.
Wow.
So we are sitting on needles and pins right now. I'm not worried about Chris, Darlene, and the 3 older girls because they've all been vaccinated. But the 7-month-old I am concerned about.
How long have they had it?
About, I would say probably right now, about this will be the 5th day.
Hmm.
They've gone ahead and done a test at least twice to make sure. They're home isolating right now. Darlene's mother is vaccinated, does not have COVID, and is there to help with the baby. But yeah, and they're in Machias, so obviously not something that we can just skip over there to try to do something about.
Yeah.
I hate this damn thing.
Well, obviously, hope for the best there.
Thank you. Jane, how are you?
I'm fine. Excuse me.
That
I'm-
wasn't reassuring.
I know.
I'm fine and it's
cough.
not reassuring.
I know. Actually, I'm on the tail end of a cold and we never got to be, I was tested several times and I've been able to dodge.
Well, good. I'm glad.
COVID. You said I came in late. You said you have some family members that are.
My oldest boy, Chris, his wife, Darlene, and the 4 of my grandchildren all have tested positive for COVID, including the 7-month-old baby.
That, oh. It's just scary. Yeah.
Yeah, well, fortunately, like I say, Chris and Darlene and the 3 of the girls have all been vaccinated. The next youngest one is 5, so she just received not very long ago. But the baby is what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I'm in a household with 3 people that have positive right now.
In your house?
Well, it's not my house. I'm at their place.
Oh, okay. Yeah, geez.
Yeah.
Where's your
I
mask?
just started my rehab. Oh, I'm in the little room in the corner of the house, and there's nobody walking through here. You know, it's pretty isolated.
Okay. You want to take
Right.
take it easy, Louis.
Oh yeah, I've just started getting up in the chair yesterday.
Congratulations.
Getting there.
Anxious to get home?
Yeah, but I'm afraid it's longer than what I want it to be. So take it as it comes.
Mm-hmm. Totally understand.
Yeah.
Patience is a virtue.
Well, I
Be
learned
virtuous.
patience the hard. I learned patience the hard way.
Mhm.
I think I learned everything the hard way.
Wisdom right there, Louis. Lots of wisdom because of it.
just owning my history.
Mhm.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, in my yearbook, they give you a little saying or something
Mhm.
under your graduation picture. They wrote mine. They put, in order to profit from your mistakes, you must go out and make some. Make some mistakes.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Peter, is there anyone else in the waiting room? We're a few minutes out. Usually there's a few more by now.
Yeah, there's 6 at the moment. Seven.
You can let them in while we're waiting if you want. Doesn't have to be right at 4:30.
Okay.
Went down today to sign warrants and was interesting the fact that I understand what happened, but there were no canceled check stubs with the warrants to cross-reference. And that's the first time that I have ever seen that happen. But Lori was out of the office and was trying to play catch up, so that's the first time I've seen that happen in warrants since I've been on the council.
Yeah, she was out on Monday and worked very diligently to rectify as much as she could on that when she got back, but there were still some pending parts of it.
Yeah.
You want to get that, Charlie?
Oh my God.
How did you know it was me?
Because Guild is not on the council anymore.
There you go.
Charlie, I don't know why you come in so loud. I keep trying to adjust my volume whenever you're there.
Who's that, Jane?
Just-
Turn your volume down.
I don't know why.
He must be going through a speaker.
Just the computer. I have a hard time hearing everybody else, but I'm deaf anyway, so. Huh?
Hey.
4:30.
We all have our problems.
Huh?
We all. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, a few more.
Can you all hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Switched over to my phone in case the internet slows.
Yeah. I find the phone makes it simpler.
Where are you today, Steve?
I'm in the good town of Millinocket.
Really?
I sure am.
I hear it's
Putting a
nice
coat
this
of paint
time
on
of
the
year.
house. Was you putting a coat of paint on the house there?
I just came back from seeing my kids, so I'm on a kind of a different schedule right now. Is Diana on? Peter, do you see her? The waiting room?
If she is Millinocket office, it is coming in right now.
Okay.
At the docker, she's
That could have been me reading my document there and missing when she logged in. Millinocket office, is that you, Diana?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
I had a few issues trying to get on, but I think I'm here now.
You're here.
All right. Well, with that, it looks like we're all here. So, Diana, are you ready?
Is my camera on? I don't see it, but
No.
No, it's not.
I don't have my video on because I don't think it appropriate to enjoy an adult beverage in front of the other folks.
Yeah, that is a tease.
But I am of age.
well, I guess you can go ahead and start. Oh, there it goes. I mean,
Oh.
it took a minute
There you
to
are.
activate. Apologies for the
All
delay,
right.
guys.
Not a problem. All right, with that, I'd like to call this regular town council meeting to order. And if I can get a roll call, please.
Believe,
Here.
Bragdon,
Here.
Adore,
Here,
Pelletier,
Here,
Prey,
Present.
Danforth,
Here,
and McEwen.
Here.
Thank you very much. And with that, if you could remove your hats and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
to the
of the
flag
of the
United
United
States
States of America.
to the republic
For the republic for which it stands,
Stands.
nation,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty,
for all.
and justice for all.
I love the timing.
let's not ever try
with
to
that-
sing all together.
With that, are
Uh,
there any adjustments to the agenda?
I did not have any noted to me.
I do have a couple that I will go over in my manager's report.
Thank you, Peter. And with that, seeking approval of the minutes of December 23rd, 2021 regular meeting and December 30th, 2021 executive session.
No move.
So moved.
Second,
Motion by Pelletier and seconded by Bragdon. All those in favor, Counselor
it's
Pelletier.
vice versa. It's vice versa, but aye.
Okay, reverse that. Counselor Pelletier says aye. Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Madore,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
aye.
and Chair Golib, aye. And with that, we do not have any special presentations. So Peter, feel free to start us off with the manager's report.
Thank you, Chairman. This is my first report coming in as town manager of Millinocket. I'd like to start with first part of my report is thanking Mr. Richard Angotti in a transitional period. We spent some valuable time together. We discussed the aspects of the manager's position, the ongoing projects, work that he had been tasked with, up until the trade-off. We traded keys and passwords and toured the facility. And I really appreciated the download of information and certainly am grateful for his offer to stay in contact with me. I know I've made his phone ring a few times already. He's jumped and come over to help me with a few things, especially the code related issues. So I'm very grateful for that relationship moving forward and his offer to continue to support me. Letting someone in there. The department heads, in the way of onboarding, these first three items, the department heads have been incredibly helpful in my first week and a half or so on the job. I can say with certainty that the functionality of this municipal staff is well-oiled machine, and the impressive part is how well they work to support each other throughout their what they come across during the day in their jobs. Specifically and especially, I'd like to point out the support and assistance that I've gotten the first week or so from Lori and Diana Lakeman and Mary Cullen. Without them, I don't know where I'd be, coming into this role. It's been incredibly supportive staff-wise. I'll go through some highlights of the rest of my report. If you have any further questions, go ahead, but I'll keep it brief. My initial department head meeting went very well. It was a great opportunity to meet with the entire group and discuss their departments in overview and what challenges they're up to and up against how I can be best supportive to them as their manager. That meeting went very well. When it comes to the CDBG bid opening, we did receive one bid. We opened that bid. It was near double the original budget. It was over by about 190,000. And that's understandable given the timeline of the beginning of it with the increase in materials and labor shortages. All of those that we've been up against as a society. So, there's no shortage in our situation. Myself and our representative from Haley Ward have dug further into that situation. We've contacted the contractor who did bid on the job, and we requested that they, if they were willing to separate the two major components of the full project. So we got a price on the downtown lighting piece and the Veterans Park piece. Within what's remaining in the budget, factoring in Haley Ward's fee for administering that from the engineering aspect of it, we'll be looking to move forward with the project, but separating the Veterans Park piece and focusing on that, as well as the wayfinding piece. There is some additional funding that's been offered to cover there. So we will likely have to look into alternative funding for the downtown lighting piece. But this far into the project, my route will be to, shoot for getting the Veterans Park project completed, and that'll include the lighting, the electrical infrastructure for vendors and other items there. Stemming from some input from counselors, I've been researching a possibility of full-time code enforcement officer. Speaking with my predecessor here, Richard, and knowing his knowledge of the code work and what has been, what had piled up previously to him, and he did the best he could during his time in that position. There's certainly justification of full-time code enforcement, beginning with the piling up of previous work, but moving forward with the developments on the mill site and throughout town, we'll be able to keep that person busy. I'm fairly certain if we do go for that. My research included talking to various towns throughout the state, as comparable as I could, talking about salary ranges, full-time, part-time, benefits, no benefits, how that works. My suggestion would be to stay competitively in comparison with other rural communities, would be that we look further into a full-time position within the salary range of $48,000 to $55,000 with benefits. My understanding is that the average benefit cost on top of a salary like that would bring the total line item to be roughly $88,000 to $90,000 cost to the town. Again, I think there could very well be good justification of the work there. Highlights from the departments. Public Work has the loaded pails of sand. They've been delivered to the firehouse for the age-friendly project. Fleet maintenance, all vehicles are serviced and running well. Transfer station has been looking at recycling costs. We've received some information on what it would take to break even on that and make it a worthwhile go. It does seem unlikely that we would be able to reach those goals with the amount of tonnage that we produce locally. The budget expenses, they're at 48% year to date. They'll be 60% collected after the metal pile checks come in. Human Resources Director, everything is going well there. As she notes in here, she's assisting the town manager and department heads. She is doing that in a very big way. I'm very grateful for her work there. We do have a staff retiring. A staff did retire in December, so we'll be looking for replacement there. She is assisting individuals meeting their unmet needs and submitting reimbursement from that as the general assistant director. And bookkeepers assessing payroll and month-end warrants, keeping things in line. With the rec department, the ice rink should be ready this weekend. Very excited about that. I think it's a very well-received asset to the community when it's up and running like that. Basketball season is going good. And she is also participating in the Winterfest event, which goes hand in hand this year with the Katahdin Snowdown with age-friendly Katahdin. Over at the airport, got the guard system is reporting 30 aircraft operations this month to date. He has experienced some electrical issues with the snowblower, but those repairs have been made and they seem to be rectified. He's both completed the fire extinguisher training and the bi-monthly fuel farm inspection. With the town clerk's office, totals include December 21st, 2021 through January 7th, 2022. The summary report, which provides by receipt to the number of transactions, the dollars processed at the town office. In summary, $2,191,237.22 were collected, which involves 1,418 transactions. Taxes have started coming in for the second half of the tax bills. Due date is January 13th. Diana is preparing the new wastewater billing quarter and anticipates those bills to be mailed out by the end of January. There's a note in here about they are making courtesy reminder calls to dog owners, hoping to get a hold of them before the late fees kick in for that registration. Those kick in February 1st. In the way of the treasurer, we've got some foreclosure notices that were mailed out, 13 unpaid sewer liens that will mature the 27th of this month. Foreclosure notices are mailed out to 25 accounts for unpaid FY20 property taxes. And that total is approximately $26,000. And those liens will foreclose at the end of February. Looks like the town received an additional $260.88 of reallocated funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. Water treatment facility, pump stations are all currently functioning well. Doing some routine maintenance. I'm currently processing the installation of a new fuel tank system for the generator at the treatment facility. With the fire and ambulance, they have reported to I'm not sure some of that lingo there. Fire and ambulance is doing a great job reporting to all calls that are coming in. And, if you have further questions, I can certainly refer to department head here to get clarification on some of that information. The police department is doing great as well. Looks like they've isolated 256 calls for this report in service in Millinocket. They have seen a very drastic increase in the mental health related calls in recent weeks. It's put a strain on the PD staff, but also the hospital staff as well. So that's a situation we'll want to look further into. And the officers have been working with the Public Works Department to educate the citizens about getting vehicles off the road and moved for the parking ban to avoid tickets ahead of time. So those are some highlighted items from that report. I'm happy to try to answer any other further questions if you'd like.
Thank you, Peter. Any other council comments on the manager's report? Councilor Prey?
Yeah, before that, Peter, Randy Jackson's trying to sign in. You were reading the report, so just to let you know, he texted me saying that he wasn't being let in.
Yep, I just let him in.
Okay.
Any other comment on the manager's report? Councilor Madore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was a good first effort, Peter, on the manager's report. Congratulations on breaking the ice for coming in with your first one for the meeting. As far as the CDBG grant is concerned, it's discouraging a little bit because I would love to have seen the whole project, especially with the time and effort that Councilor McEwen has put into it. But it's not unexpected given, as you said, the uptick in materials and the lack of labor. I am glad, though, that you've chosen to go with the Veterans Park part of the project. I think that was first and foremost in the mind of the committee to go ahead and apply for the grant to begin with. And that electrical down in the park is very important, especially the hookups for festivals and things. So I'm glad you're going in that direction. And I think the wayfinding is a good piece to put with that. As far as the code enforcement officer is concerned, that's a pretty hefty price. Even if estimates are, I just can't see where the town, I understand it's necessary. I think it's a valuable piece, but unfortunately, I just don't see the town being able to right now to squeeze out another $88,000 to $90,000 for the job. 48 to 50 without benefits sounds more practical to me. But I mean, how many positions can we put into the town in an add-on or increase the salary and benefits to it and try to still stay within the mill rate? It's just not a good fit. And I hope that the manager can come up with some solution. Like I say, I wouldn't be crazy about the high end of 55,000, but the 48 to 55,000 without benefits would maybe something I would be able to get behind, but certainly not 88 to 90,000 with benefits. As far as the transfer station is concerned, I'd like to go ahead and offer my congratulations to Ron Preble for his retirement. Anybody knows Ronnie out there has worked at the transfer station for a long time. He's always been a huge asset for the town. He's always been able to offer help and information, and he's done a great job out there. And I wish him well in his retirement, but certainly appreciate the effort that he's given to the town out at that transfer site. I'm glad that we're getting the recycling taken care of and the revenues are coming in, because it's always a big part of what takes care of some of the cost of the transfer site. So congratulations, Ralph, to get that metal pile down and get it taken care of. Other than that, I can't really see anything else here that is of a concern of mine right now. So with that, I'll say thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Medora. Councilor McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As for this manager's report, thank you, Peter, for the very well produced report with great detail. When it comes to the CDBG project, also thank you for that update. I agree with what's already been said. It is a little discouraging, but it's definitely understandable. I know we've already talked this week about it, and I just appreciate the updates with it. And I think if we can get Veterans Park accomplished, that'll be great for the community. Regardless, we won't be able to implement the full scope of the project initially, but I think it'll be a great milestone for improvement downtown that we can only continue off of. So thank you very much on that. Noting the other updates on the report, and just thank you very much. I'm all set.
Thank you, Councilor McEwen. Any other council comment? Councilor Pelletier.
Yes. Generally agree with what's already been said by other councilors. I do agree, though, that the CEO position, I disagree with Councilor Medora on this one. I think we both time with the housing activity that we've had in the community, and still lack of getting anywhere with some of the troubled properties, and the CEO position needing some real catch-up work in that department. I believe it should be full-time. I mean, we're gonna have to bite the bullet on some of these personnel issues if we're going to be progressive in getting infrastructure grants and doing a lot of work towards the opportunities that are coming. So otherwise, it was a very good report, good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pelletier. Any other council comments? Councilor Bragdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just bouncing off what other councilors have said, I think this report is extremely detailed, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. I love the layout. Second off, I can't wait to go ice skating. I'm super excited for that to continue going again this year. And I know a lot of people in the community have also expressed that they're excited for this. And lastly, the CEO position. I definitely agree that it seems kind of high, but given the current way things are with labor shortages and everything, I think Peter Jamison's right when he says we need to be competitive. But I do agree that does seem a little high. Maybe we can entice somebody to come with no benefits for the 40 to 55,000, like Councilor Medora was saying. I'd like to continue hearing updates about this as we continue moving forward. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon. Any other council comment?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Danforth.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Peter, for the report. I'm going to just jump right to the end. I don't have anything, I guess, new to say that the other councilors haven't mentioned already. We will have to revisit that code enforcement position and the cost. We do need it, so we need to figure out how to make that work. So we'll want to hear more about that. The police report, and I know you had mentioned and they had highlighted just the ongoing, continuing increasing calls around mental health, involving those people with mental health issues and substance use disorder. And I know the hospital is getting is overloaded too with those sort of folks coming to the emergency department. And so I just want to say, I know next Wednesday will be the Penobscot County Commissioners listening session around the American Rescue Plan funds in East Millinocket from 6 to 8. We need to come together with our other municipalities and others working the recovery community on this issue and come up with a plan to present to our county commissioners to deal with this in the Katahdin region. So I know there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes and through the coalition work of the Katahdin Response Network. And I've talked with other folks. I know Susan D'Alessando's, I don't know if she's on the call today. A lot of people are working in silos, and this is a time for us to come together, whether we can be at that meeting or not. I know Charlie will probably talk about it. There's other listening sessions, but as a municipality, we need to come together with a plan to present so that we can get funding to better address this in our community. There's other communities that have a model where they actually have the social worker or some sort of support worker that's a police liaison that is able to be called on in times of crisis, that works with both the police and the hospital. So I just want to say, stay tuned. I know that's highlighted in their report. They'll have a year-long report out on all the calls. I'll be interested to get those statistics from them going forward. But as a municipality, this is a community-wide issue. And so let's continue to bring this to the forefront going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Councilor Prey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm going to follow up on a few of the comments that were made. We're in the second half of the fiscal year, and while the figures being given on code enforcement, CID, and so forth are basically based on an annual salary, so the time to fill them in some instances, obviously, I think on CID, we have a couple of people that probably would be available immediately that had been considered, and we'll talk a little bit maybe about that later. But in calculating that, we really should be dealing with the figures for the rest of the fiscal year, and what we do in the budget coming up. Of course, if we're offering a contract to somebody, the expectation is that contract's going to extend. So understanding the year salary is worth considering, but for getting through the rest of this year and trying to get some people into place, the current budget is where do we have money in the current budget. I think there's some sources of funds that we could look at that could take care of putting a position in there, whether it's half part-time, full-time, or combined in some fashion for the immediate timeline that we're looking at. Going forward into a full year, we might want to look at additional staffing, but then we need to see what the impact is on the mill rate to the town, because basically this is a single person salary. If you're going to do two positions, you got to double those figures that are there with benefits and whatnot, and office equipment. We're probably talking close to a couple of mills by the time you do that, potentially adding to the police force and so forth, the contract at least to the police department. If you start adding all of that up, we're talking maybe a $2 million increase just on the current budget. But it's worth the discussion that I think we need to have going forward and clarify where it is that we want to go. And I talked to the manager about this earlier. I appreciate Ralph is so tremendous in giving us the numbers and the details of operating his department. But just for those who may be new to this whole process, if they're reading it and seeing, for example, where we've only spent 42% and we're already into the second half of the year, understand that expenditures are not based upon a monthly basis. For example, Public Works spends a lot more during the winter months and snow plowing and stuff than they do during doing road repairs and so forth during the rest of the year. I did want to comment on reference to, and I also talked to the manager about this on the cemetery being listed. We've gone through this experience before. We've praised Bob Healy for the work that he's volunteered to do and so forth. But I've recommended that the Public Works should put some money in the budget if Bob is using his own equipment and stuff, if he needs a pry bar, if the town doesn't have one type of stuff, or erecting those stones or clearing stones, there should be money put in the next budget coming up so that the town is buying that equipment and not people who are volunteering, not offering to pay for his time volunteering, but for any type of material that he needs or tools to accomplish that work up there. I did want a comment just in reference to the town clerk report and the volume of work that they're doing. And I just want to compliment and praise that office. Every time I'm down there, they're working pretty hard to keep up, and I'm glad to see we got caught up in the minutes and those types of things. But I know that office is doing a lot of work, and appreciative of that. And of course, the town clerk always being available to all of us and us asking for a number of things, assistance in getting. And Mike, I'm kind of surprised that Councilor Maduro didn't mention the reference to the dog tag time period. He mentioned that before and drew it to everybody's attention, but the fine or the fee increase is going to increase if they don't get down there and get that done. I also, for the new councilors, particularly in reference to the town treasurer's report on liens, I was very pleased to see those positive numbers of having foreclosure notices going to only 13 accounts. In years past, we were into the hundreds, and it's nice to see that we're getting somewhere near a degree of some normality. And of course, once these foreclosure liens go out, some of those will be caught up rather quickly. Councilor Jane, and for Councilor Danforth mentioned in reference to the American Rescue Plan, the ARPA funds and so forth. I'd like to propose that we consider meeting off week as a council to start talking about those funds, the opposite week of when we have council meetings, as to how we're going to handle those funds, and to have a regular meeting day, whether it's Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, whatever works for everybody, for us to start discussing how those funds. And I have attended a couple of the county meetings, plan to continue. I have raised the point that a lot of people that are asking the county for funds are also asking the municipalities, and we should coordinate, the county should coordinate with all the towns in Penobscot as to who's giving what. I believe the county form does state on anybody that's making an application for funds from them has to list who else they're applying to for funds, and report any of those funds that they receive. If you remember a couple of weeks ago when we did the welfare or the general assistance briefing, Laurie Santerre pointed out that they do ask that question of anybody that comes in for general assistance. They ask, where else have you applied for revenues and funds and assistances? And I think we need to do that in the ARPA funds as well, so we can maximize the impact of those dollars. I did have a question in reference to the police report. And I don't know, Peter, if you've gotten the answer to this, and the vehicles that are listed there, our vehicles, or is this a police report for what the East Millinocket Police Department was doing and their need for equipment? And for the rest of the council, what I'm referring to, it mentions car 7, car 5, and car 2. I'm wondering if that is ours, or is that the whole East Millinocket needs of fixing up that equipment?
I do not know specifically which numbered cars are located.
And I just want for clarification. It's not really a question about it. And I understand. I talked to you yesterday, and I know you're on the road today. But I appreciate just knowing that information at a future council meeting. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Any other council comment on the manager's report?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I did in my report, I did fail to mention those two amendments to the agenda that I wanted to add that were not in my report. And if you'll allow it, I will run down both of them very briefly, and council can take it from there, what they wish to do with it.
Go right ahead.
The two items I had were, one, to I would seek approval to look for assistance with the technical side of the production of our council meetings in chambers when we revisit in person. as to take those duties away from the manager during those meetings. I am familiar with those systems. I've used them most of my life. But I do believe that in the council meetings, I, as the manager, should be focusing on my own work as the manager and my role in that meeting. So I would seek approval to either find a volunteer or flex with some staff time, or even, a small amount of part-time funding to look for somebody if worst case scenario, we would need to hire someone for a couple hours twice a month. The other item was regarding the conversation around purchase of the Elks property, via the sustainability committee work. I would like to see if the council would take part in some conversation with that to see about moving that forward.
Thank you, Peter. Just quickly, obviously there can't be any approval of anything without an actual order. So for the proposals that you might have that we could take a look at a future council meeting on what you're thinking you need for, having an IT person fill in the meetings, feel free to send that out to us and we can discuss that in our next meeting. And then for the second item, the Elks property, I appreciate you bringing that up. I just wanted to let the public know, because it's come up a couple times to our attention, that has been an ongoing conversation for about a year in the Sustainability Committee, which our public meetings are posted in the town office, are posted on our website, and we've also discussed it multiple times in council meetings as well. So we have been certainly putting the word out. The sustainability meeting or committee will be meeting again before the next meeting, in which case it will be discussed further and an actual plan and proposal will be put forward to the council. Committees obviously can't make any decisions on behalf of the town, but we do have conversation that can involve the public. Those are all public meetings. They've typically taken place at the library, but they have been closed recently due to COVID, so it'll most likely be over Zoom. So just for the public to be aware, ongoing discussions will happen there. You're all welcome to attend. The meeting times and dates will all be posted on the website and in the town office. And then the conclusion of that meeting will be sent to the council to review and have discussion, which also allows for public comment. So just for the public to be aware of that. Any other comments from councilors on the manager's report? Councilor Maduro, I saw your hand up earlier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to get a little bit of a clarification, or possibly by the next council meeting or whatever. The issue's been brought up as far as the police report, and it kind of caught my eye, but I didn't react to it as quickly as I probably should have. About the mental health issues in the town. My question is this something that, is this a few individuals causing, multiple cases of problems, or is this a much broader band or spectrum of individuals who are having issues that the police department are having to deal with? I have been aware in the past that there have been a few individuals, and when I say a few, I'm talking, probably, well, anyway, let's leave it at a few, that have had mental health issues and have had multiple times where they've had to be taken to the hospital by the police department, relocated after they've escaped from the hospital or whatever. And I'm just looking at the report, and it's really not very specific. I'd like a more detailed understanding of this. Obviously, it's an issue, but I just like a more detailed understanding of, and no names have to be, it doesn't have to be names or anything else, but is this a few people with multiple times, or is this a much broader spectrum that we're looking at for this issue? Thank you.
Happy to look into that for you. I do believe it is a much broader and growing number than it had been previously. but I will clarify that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Dora. Thank you, Peter. Charlie, did you have your hand up earlier too?
Yes, I wanted to say a couple of things, and I agree with you in reference to having the manager present us with a proposal for us to look at in reference to an IT person or somebody to run the council meetings. We've gotten spoiled in recent months or time period of years. In reference to the Elks property, and I understand the various committees that we have going, and they are open to the public and whatnot. But we have 11 members of the public that are on here tonight, including the media, that's covering this meeting. I suspect that the various committees, sustainability committees and others, probably the attendance is even smaller. And most people will react once something has been put forward, as the Elks property has been on some of the letters of communications and comments that we have received as of late. And I appreciate you saying to the public, telling the public that all of this happens in the preview of the public if they participate. A lot of them are expecting us to make a decision, and then they'll respond when that final proposal is presented. And I think that's a little bit of the feedback we got on what was covered in the media recently. But I just wanted to clarify that just because a dozen or so people, they don't represent the whole community. I wish more people would participate and come to these things. And I wish it wasn't when they were always up in arms about something, but they were showing their support for things, as some of the people that are usually here are here to support concerns that they have about where the town is going. But it is a broader number that we have to take into consideration on all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. A lot of you are frozen on my screen, so if any councilors have any last comments, just speak out, please. All right, seeing none. There's a couple hands up and chat. I'll start with the hands up. Mr. Pringle had your hand up first, I believe. So Chuck, please go ahead. Name and address, please.
Chuck Pringle, 1 Colony Place, and would like to address the town manager's meeting notes that he's presented so far. And I may not have these in the same order as how he said them. Regarding the code enforcement position, and I do have some background in human resources. My background in total is military, law enforcement, and capital assets, which is the fancy word for HR. Regarding the code enforcement officer, if the town is concerned about trying to bump this up to a full-time position, maybe have the town council or others consider layering that position with some other duties that would support a full-time position, and if not, but the position still being full-time, to maybe consider hiring somebody who does not need benefits. And an example of that would be, let's say, somebody who's military and retired and has military benefits for, let's say, medical and dental. I've seen that process work quite well, where a candidate comes forward with being offered a position, stating up front that they don't need benefits, and that could save the town some money. So I'm not advocating per se whether the position be full-time or part-time, but there are some possibilities of how the position could be structured that might make the town council more amicable if it was full-time, if other duties were layered into that position, and if not, maybe part-time or full-time where somebody doesn't need those benefits. There was a mention of IT, and I would like to suggest that the town council, or maybe the town manager, Mr. Jameson, take a look at the two areas, one of them being the generic email address for the town is HR. And I have to say that I sometimes feel uncomfortable emailing to that address, not knowing who's actually getting it on the other end, as opposed to maybe the specific individual. What I found after moving here is most of the email addresses for specific areas are listed. But strangely enough, and unless you know it, and I could be wrong, I could not find the town manager's email address readily available in the pecking list that's on there. It may be just administrative, but it makes me slightly concerned about what's known as PII, personally identifiable information. If you're emailing something to that generic email address, it uses the term HR at millinocket.org. Coupled with that, I don't know the frequency of who updates the listing for job openings, but I'm assuming you are the town manager now, sir, and your position is still posted as being an open position amongst a couple of others that I do believe or have been filled. And may suggest that somebody may want to take a look at that, that website. With that said, on the town office, kudos to the staff. I went in there last month with a plethora of documents and paperwork I needed to submit, and everybody kind of came together right to the window and assisted me in the various things that I needed to transpire, during that exchange. So I do much appreciate what I've been seeing in the town office. And the last item goes towards public works, and this may not be the appropriate juncture. It's kind of a follow-up, but you did bring up about public works. I did attend an online meeting. I want to say it might have been a couple of meetings ago. And as a result, the public works director, and I'm probably going to pronounce his name incorrectly, Mr. Saucier, is that right?
Susie.
So how do you pronounce it?
Susie.
It's Ralph.
Saucier, okay. He presented a very thorough update on what it would take to renovate the sidewalks throughout Millinocket. And obviously it's winter, but with spring and summer, I hate to say it's just around the corner, but it'll be around the corner before we know it. I didn't know where that stood after he made the presentation with the PowerPoint presentation and all that described how much money it was going to probably take to either completely replace or repair, refurbish, if you will, the various sidewalks throughout the community. So that part is actually my only question, which again this may not be the appropriate juncture to ask about what the status was after he submitted that extensive report to the town council. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck, and also thank you for recognizing our wonderful staff there. I think we all feel that as well. Peter, do you know if there was an update or perhaps provide one after?
On what specific item?
His last item about the
Sidewalk, maybe?
public work.
I'd have to research that for you, Chuck. I'm happy to do that and report back.
Thank you. And
Councilor
please,
Frank?
I don't want that to be construed that this is Chuck's issue about sidewalks.
Sure.
I do know that when I first went to purchase a home here, and I do walk through the neighborhood, and I have a dog, and I went through and noticed that the sidewalks in many areas are just, quite frankly, downright dangerous. And I'm not quite that old to where I need a cane or a wheelchair, but that time will come. But there are a lot of trees in the cities, or excuse me, the town's right of way, the devil strip, as some people call it, or hell strip. It has various terms. It's not actually homeowners' trees. And in some cases, I've actually walked through portions of neighborhoods where, meaning within Millinocket, where the entire sidewalk on the side of the street has been sucked up over time by grass or weeds and no longer exists, where you could see that there was asphalt at some point. And I would probably venture to say that those areas look like they're 20, 30, 40 years old. And obviously no restoration of any kind has been done since then. So to, if there are any kind of funds, be it federal or COVID related or whatever it takes, I think the long-term planning needs to be to improve the availability of the community to everybody, to improve those sidewalks when possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck, and I appreciate you reiterating that, and I apologize, Mr. Manager, I had misheard. So you were referencing the proposal, or at least the status of all the sidewalks that Ralph had presented to the council. We had discussed potentially creating a plan for that in terms of a capital improvement plan, but we have not gone any further with that as a council. So that is something that we can discuss further, perhaps at our next council meeting. And to Councilor Prey's point earlier of looking at our budget and where we're at, I'm sure that we could discuss that as well on top of that. Councilor Prey, I did see your hand up earlier if you wanted to say anything to that.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was going to be my comment, that it's a budgetary item. We're coming into the budget season. We're operating on a budget that was passed 6 months ago, 7 months ago. And I thought when Ralph presented that, it was a multi-year thing. We were going to assess that in the upcoming budget as to how to put money in, because the new budget will become effective July 1st. And of course, we'll be going through this whole process of dealing with the ARPA funds, the federal funds that have come in, which are only a 2-year period. So after 2 years, those monies aren't there available. So got to be careful about what we're funding for projects if it's going to go beyond that 2 years, because then it's going to be an impact to the tax base. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. And on that point, I will be emailing the council to see availability if we wanted to do regular ARPA meetings per Councilor Prey's suggestion. And Mr. Raymond, I also see your hand up.
Yes, John Raymond, 236 Highland Avenue. I want to thank Pete for his manager's report for the first time. I'm the code enforcement officer, and I know you guys are thinking about full-time, and I've talked to previous managers, and I think the biggest thing we need to do, if you're thinking of going that way, the code enforcement officer needs to be an officer. He's an officer of the town of Millinocket. He needs to have a uniform and a badge, because I think a lot of times when they go walking up to somebody's property and they got a golf shirt and khakis on, I don't think it puts a lot of buff in the what he's doing. Whereas if you're at a house and you got an issue and somebody comes walking up like Tom Malcolm or something like that, he's got his shirt on, he's an officer, he's got a badge, it puts a little bit more oomph in it as far as I'm concerned. So that'd be something to think about. On the fixed base operator, having known Jeff and talked to him occasionally, it's been a plus to have somebody local and has somebody that has the knowledge that's trying to keep that airport running up to snuff with, you guys just invested $500,000 into a new blower out there. And from what I'm hearing is there's been some issues with it, and, having somebody with the knowledge that he has, it's been good to see that he can fix and work his way through some of these issues. And sometimes that type of stuff has to be rewarded. And I think you ought to be thinking about that. Ralph, doing a great job on the storms. All his crew. I mean, I have to do the same thing where I work, and it's been a difficult year. We're getting a lot more snow and rain, and it's a difficult thing to deal with. And one of the things we talked about in the manager's report, the mental issues with the hospital and what they're dealing with, and the police and everything. And I think that's one of the things that was kind of overlooked when the police department was moved to East Millinocket. East Millinocket doesn't have a hospital, and I think a lot of times that there are times where we've had to have a full-time officer up at the hospital for a week or so at a time, or several days at a time. So that takes away from your crew there. And also on the CEO, maybe if you advertise for it as a CEO/IT, throw that in there, and maybe you could get a double bang for your buck. So thank you, and great meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond, for your input there. I do see some people in chat. Mr. Ngati said that he will continue to support the manager. If you need assistance on the lighting, he has some other ideas. And also from Sandra Sullivan, who wrote, "My opinion, it is more important to have a fully staffed town, from the code enforcement person to the grant writer, than to use our tax dollars to pretty up the town," pretty up being in quotations. "A town manager cannot be expected to do code enforcement." Thank you for those comments. Any other comments from the public on the manager's report? Mr. Ngati?
Thank you, Mr. Man, Council Chair. The on the committees, and if you I looked on the website, and it's hard to find where a committee is, when a committee is meeting. If you had it on the front page of the town's website, like you have with the council meetings, that then a person could very easily find when these meetings are taking place. You have 9 committees going on, so it's very hard to identify when a committee meeting is, so that people can get involved. It's important, if you're going to do this, to make it so that it's easy for the public to have access to, so that they can get that information. On the code enforcement officer, one of the biggest issues that I found was when you get to a certain point, and our ordinances do not have the teeth in them to do what they need to get the people to respond to the issues that we're having. If people would just learn the law and abide by the law, it would be a lot easier and for the code enforcement officer. When you get to a point, it's called Rule 80K, where you have to take that person to court. Now you're going to involve a lawyer. So now your cost is going to go up. It isn't just having the code enforcement officer, you're also having a lawyer involved when you take them to court. So that's an important part. So when you're looking for a code enforcement officer, look at the whole spectrum of it, not just putting a person in place and saying, go do it, because there's a lot more to it than just go do it. On the Elks property, that's why I'm saying the under the committees, it's hard to find when that committee is meeting. So if you want the public to participate in your committee meetings, then you've got to make it so that they're readily available for them to see when they go to that website. So if you put it right on the front page, like the town council meetings are, there's a tab right there. You can click on it. You can get it. You can get all the email addresses of the counselors, their phone numbers, as well as going and finding the meetings. You need to do the same thing for your committees. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ngati, for that input on the committee meetings and making that more accessible. I see your point there. I can speak to Design Lab and see, or Mr. Manager, actually, if you would speak to Design Lab and see what they would be able to offer in terms of putting a spot on the website. It might make sense to have a tab that says, upcoming committee meetings, so that I can just take you to the committee pages, because usually those meetings are posted on the committee pages themselves. But as Mr. Ngati pointed out, people might not know of any upcoming meetings or think to look for any upcoming meetings. So thank you, Mr. Ngati, for that point there. Any other public comment?
I see Susan D'Alessandro here with her hand up.
Oh, thank you very much. Susan, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Hi, Susan D'Alessandro, State Street, Millinocket. I just want to say that I was very happy, not happy, but I guess that's how I'd say it, to see the police bringing some attention to the mental health and substance use situation in this area. It's been hiding in plain sight for a long time. You can see some of the calls, just this last report, we're up to like 256. And quite often mental health issues and substance use go hand in hand to a very high percent. And, the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone, as far as it's putting a stress on the police department, the emergency room, and on and on and on. And until we start dealing with those issues, it's going to continue to stress those various pieces. And a lot is being asked of law enforcement that really should not be their issue. And I'm very thankful for the comments that Councillor Danforth made, because this is a complex problem, and we really, really, really have to start dealing with it and recognizing it. And I'm thankful for the many hats that Councillor Danforth wears, one of which is the Katahdin Response Committee, which has a cross section of all the key players in this whole situation. And I just think we really have to start paying attention to it. And, as far as the sidewalks and, all these other things, yes, they're important. And I feel that some of this money coming in, whether it be ARPA or whatever, the ARPA funds are different than the infrastructure money that has been approved. And it's in the process of trickling out, and how complicated that all is. But seldom is there any money to help the very problems that the police are dealing with. And I just hope that people do attend that hearing at the listening session at East Millinocket. And now that it sounds like we're going to start to be having some more regular discussion about the ARPA funds, I'm really happy about that too. And as far as the code enforcement and other openings that it sounds like are coming up, I think benefits are very important to people. Even if they earn a little less money, having the benefits in today's world is very important. So maybe you might be lucky and be able to pay a little less in salary in return for some good benefits, as far as securing somebody for those jobs. And I just also wanted to say that I agreed with the comment that Sandra Sullivan made. And then I just have one question. In the treasurer's report, it said the town received an additional $260.88 of reallocated funds from ARPA. And I was curious what what that was about. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Mr. Manager, I'll defer to you or to the treasurer.
Mr. Chairman, Mary Alice, I believe, is in attendance. I don't have that information, but if she is willing to add to that, I'd look to her.
It's just what is in the report. There was some additional money that they were able to reallocate out to the towns that were accepting funds. I mean, I guess I took that to mean that there were probably some towns that didn't take the funds, so they reallocated it out to the ones that had accepted them.
That is
Thank
correct.
you.
Thank you, Mary Alice.
Thank you, Councilor Frey.
It's just that there is some instances where that, and it was told to us in the beginning that those funds that were not taken by any community would be reallocated to the remaining communities. And at this stage, that's the adjustment of the communities that have rejected or saying that they don't need any funds. They're not going to take it. And that's divided among the remaining 400 or 200 and some towns that have agreed to take monies.
Thank you, Councilor Frey and Mary Alice for that. And Chuck Pringle, I see your hand up again.
Yes, just one more redirect on IT, something I failed to mention. Whomever updates the website, on the 24th of December, which was Christmas Eve, when the town offices were closed at the half day point, I believe, at noon or whatever time period that they were going to close down early. I would venture to say that a lot of people in the town did not know that that included the transfer station. And I will attest to seeing a line more than 12 vehicles lined up at the transfer station only to find that the gate was closed. So when the items are posted maybe on the town's page regarding when the town office is to close, that be expanded slightly to specify whether or not items such as the transfer station or other areas of the town office are closed at a designated time, incident to a holiday, because I will tell you, some of those people did not look happy when they saw the transfer station to close, especially when you consider this year Christmas fell on a Saturday, which also means that they couldn't take any trash or refuse to the transfer station on Saturday as well. So just food for thought for the IT person. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. I know our new manager was one of those people in that line of cars. Diana,
I was going to mention that. Could I jump in real quick, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, and then I saw Diana's hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to address some of the conversation that's been had regarding the website, and I do see Diana's comment that she will add in a moment. Proactively, I do have a meeting set up with them in the very near future to go over updates to the website, making some corrections and improvements. Also, I just wanted to thank Richard. That was actually a very, very great recommendation for easier access to the committees and the information. I will take that and run with it. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Diana.
I was just going to note that that I have posted or has requested Design Lab to post the town office specific hours. Ralph is really active on his part and does update his side. So I believe the information was there. It just wasn't as accessible as my quick posting that I send them to post that the town office specifically is closed. So, and I do, forgive me, forget their normal hours. So if it was different than their normal hours, then he does update that. I see that he's not here, so I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Diana. Much appreciated. Any other public comment on the manager's report? And I'm seeing none. So with that, we'll go to Councilor Prey. If you could read order number 1, 2022, please.
Order number 1-2022, providing for execution of the town warrant for January 13, 2022. It is ordered that the town warrant for January 13, 2022, in the amount of $210,295.01 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Prey, seconded by Councilor Madore. Heavy hitters?
There wasn't any. Yeah, I've got a couple. Let's see, $1,231.74 to White Ford doing vehicle repair. $9,480.30 for the to Bangor Savings for the Our Katahdin GMP loan. $1,784.24 to GWI for telephones. $6,862.50 to Bloomer and Russell legal, 5 legal cases that are being handled by the law firm. Public Works had $3,099.34 and transfer station dealing with diesel fuel. Hang on a minute. With diesel fuel and $1,829.12 for the transfer site for diesel fuel. $2,112 to Barrett, Rosenblatt and Russell. $1,940.45 to Maine Tech Group. $34,013.01 to Maine Water. There's that penny I was asking about. $17,966.45 to the Millinocket Library, Memorial Library. $1,040.10 to MRC monthly dues. $75,000 to Murray Plum and Murray, which is a settlement agreement payoff. $6,741.78 to Public Works for salt. $5,282.03 to Pebble Oil for heating fuel. $28,287.08, which was to T.Y. Lynn International, which is the grant pass-through. $1,937 to Versant. $7,656.62 to what? I don't recall. Let me come back to that one. $1,022.88 December payment for ambulance billing. $3,099.34 to Dead River for 14 purchases for diesel fuel. A total of $3,498.33 to Dead River, including that $3,099 that I just mentioned, which is an additional separate purchase that was made. And $2,700 to Smith and Company, which is RHR CPA accounting, doing the audit. And I want to point out that those are the big items. I'm going to go back to that other one, but $35 also went to Animal Control Officer for taking care of. We checked the small items too, for tools and products to do the job of animal control. There was $1,665 that went to Design Lab. That are the big items there. I do have a question, which I'm on that 1,665 on that breakdown. That included them doing a press release and doing work for the Millinocket Marathon. And I thought that was all part of the social media that we were paying, the contract we were paying them. Why were we itemized for separate billing on that? I guess either Mary Alice or I assume that.
Well, I mean, the contract that I see is broken down into three pieces. There's the monthly charge that encompasses two of the items. It's the web and the social media charge. That's a consistent charge every month. Then there's a $3,000 retainer that covers design, marketing, and communications. And so the marathon fell under that part of it. And that press release on the manager's position is how that broke down. Whenever I get the three, I have to, when the charges come in for that $3,000 retainer, I follow up to see if who at the town would have been involved with that work, so that if there's any questions about the bill, when the manager signs it, he knows who to speak with about it. I did get it, as far as who was worked with on the web, on the marathon, I didn't get a name on that one.
My issue is not that I would object to it. I just don't remember us saying that we were going to be funding that money for that. And of course, they tremendous respect for what they did and how they passed out the additional monies at the end, back a lot of it to the community and some of it to the general area. But I wish that we had known that we're paying for those types of services. As one counselor, I would like to have known that up front. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. And on that point, Mary Alice, while you're speaking to that, the $3,000 retainer, is that something that we pay up front and then, okay, so this is basically a bit, we pay up to that amount, I'm assuming.
We pay up to that amount, and that's why I did follow up to try to find, I'm not questioning the work that was done. I'm just trying to find a name as far as if there was any coordination done with someone at the town, so that, like I said, the manager signs off on the bill. I'm just trying to give him as much information as I can if he needs to follow up with questions.
I appreciate that clarification. Thank you very much.
Steve, if I may.
Yes, please.
Well, there's a question, and since we have Mary Alice here at the moment, on the Farrell, Rosenblatt, and Russell for the town, there's a question on the chat about the understanding the $75,000 for the settlement, but there was still another $9,000 on other legal payments to them. Do you recall what that was? I don't have obviously I don't have the package in front of me.
Well, I think if that's the one I'm thinking of, I think was that the lawyer that did some training with the assessment, with the assessing, the Brookfield assessment, as far as with the planning board and with Lorna?
I'd have to have the warrant in front of me to do that, which since we're on Zoom, not at the town office, I don't. But Susan asked that question, and I'll get back to you, Susan, on that. I'll go down tomorrow and check it out.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Any other council comment? Seeing none out of the public, obviously, Susan, you just had your question answered. I saw you say thank you, or almost answered. Any other public comment? Seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Councilor Madore.
Aye.
Councilor McEwen.
Aye.
Councilor Prey.
Aye.
Councilor Danforth.
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon.
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier.
Aye.
And Chair Goley-Bye. That passes 7-0. Thank you. And Councilor Prey, right back at you. If I could have you read order number
22, providing for execution of the wastewater warrant for January 13th, 2022. It is ordered that the wastewater warrant for January 13th, 2022 in the amount of $172,888.04 is hereby approved.
Second.
motion by Counselor Prey, seconded by Counselor Madore. Counselor Prey, where is the 4 cents? If you could find that, please.
I did not find the 4 cents, but it's a cumulative amount that came out to that rounding up. But the big hitter was $152,822.73 to Eurovia, Atlantic Coast. That's Northeast Paving. That's the work that they were doing up in the new development on the sewer lines. Next item was $9,533.79, which was paid to the town of Millinocket from the wastewater account. $3,781.50 to Allen Environmental Services. That was for cleaning at the wastewater site. $1,273 to the Penobscot Register of Deeds office. The small item on that was $55.17 to Office Depot. Those are the big and small.
Thank you, Counselor Prey. Any comment? Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Madore,
Aye.
and Chair Goley by. That passes 7-0. Counselor Pelletier, if I could have you read order number 3, 2022, please.
Certainly. Order number 3-2022, providing for approval of an application for an entertainment license for Elks Lodge number 1521. It is ordered that the attached application for an entertainment license is hereby approved for Elks Lodge number 1521, 213 Aroostook Avenue, Millinocket, doing business as Elks Lodge number 1521, 213 Aroostook Avenue, Millinocket.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Pelletier, seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Counselor Madore,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
and Chair Goley by. That passes 7-0. Counselor Bragdon, if I could have you read order number 4, 2022, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, order number 4, 2022, providing for approval of an application for malt, vinous, and spirituous liquor license for Elks Lodge number 1521. It is ordered that the attached application for malt, vinous, and spirituous liquor license is hereby approved for Elks Lodge number 1521, 213 Aroostook Avenue, doing business as Elks Lodge 1521, 213 Aroostook Avenue.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Bragdon, seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, all those in favor, Counselor Madore,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
and Chair Goley by. The order passes 7-0. And Counselor McEwen, if I could have you read order number 5, 2022, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, order number 5-2022, providing for appointment to the Millinocket School Board. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council appoints to the Millinocket School Board for a term to expire November 2022, as a vacancy has resulted within the resignation of Peter Jameson. The following residents of Millinocket listed below have expressed interest in the appointment to the Millinocket School Board. 1, Richard Angotti. 2, Julie Archie. 3, Kevin Libby. And 4, Erica Mackin.
Second. Andre,
Motion by
second.
Councilor
voted.
McEwen, second by Councilor Madore. Discussion of the council. Councilor Madore.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate for the position Richard Angotti. I feel that his previous experience as a school board member, plus his service to the municipality and the school as a volunteer have more than amply filled his high requirements for the position. And I would like to go ahead and see if we can put Richard Angotti into that position. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. Councilor Prey and then Danforth.
Well, we have a motion on the floor. It either needs a second to go forward or not. For the purpose of discussion, I will second the motion.
There was no motion, Councilor Prey. He was simply nominating, but he didn't make a motion.
Well, I'm sorry. He was nominating that he's already on the list to be. We had talked about, and I know the past practice of the council has been to interview when they've had multiple people up for consideration. And I think that we need to kind of talk about how we're going to, some of these individuals, one individual, I really don't know that well. I don't know what their interest is in the school. Others I do, but I guess to be fair to all of them, I think we should have an interview process. As I think Councilor Danforth had informed me, she once went through an interview process for a vacancy on that by the council. And I think we should kind of follow that protocol, though we didn't do that on the last appointment. But we ought to set up a protocol on how we're going to do that. And I think the council should interview all of the candidates, and then we come back hopefully with a unanimous recommendation or not, or just have the council vote on the individuals that have been listed. But I think I'd like to have us discuss how we're going to address this current vacancy and hopefully a process going forward before we have somebody, and I have one of my dogs barking at the door to go out. So, excuse me. I'll yield to it.
Councilor Prey. Thank you, Councilor Danforth.
Yeah, as Councilor Prey just mentioned, I would like to have an opportunity to interview the candidates. So I would make a motion to table this order until our next meeting, January 27th, so that we can have the opportunity to interview and decide at our next meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Danforth, seconded by Councilor McEwen. All those in favor? And if I'm correct, Diana, once there is a motion to table, there's no discussion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you very much. I want to do things right. And with that, all those in favor, Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Chair Goli by Councilor Madore,
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
and Councilor Prey. There is a motion to table,
Aye.
and that motion passes 7-0, and that would be tabled to the next council meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Madore.
Yes, if I may, then in that situation, are we going to try within the next 2 weeks to, obviously, not all 4 candidates may be able to be available on the same day. How are we going to then interview them before the next council meeting in 2 weeks so we can get a consensus?
Mr. Manager, I think you have contact information for at least the majority of the applicants. If not, I can try and find some others for you. Would you mind trying to schedule this on a day that works for everyone? There might be multiple days, but I'm assuming with the council, the Thursdays after 4:30 p.m. are probably the best time. Is that right for everyone?
Yes.
That's
Okay,
fine.
so Mr. Manager, if everyone is available that is interested for sometime after 4:30, perhaps allotting half an hour to each candidate. If not, hopefully most of them can attend. If not, just let us know when other times might be available so that we can try and make that as well.
Yes, I can look into that. I do have contact information for all 4 candidates. And I'm happy to help schedule that.
Thank you very much. And with that, Councilor Danforth, if I could have read order number 6, 2022, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, order number 6-2022, providing for annual Winterfest and Snowmobile Parade. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves the following street closures as listed on February 18th, 2022. Close the bandstand parking lot from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Close parking on the left side of Penobscot Avenue from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. and accept the conditions of the annual Winterfest and Snowmobile Parade as outlined in the memo from Fire Chief Tom Malcolm and Public Works Director Ralph Susi, a copy of which is attached to this order. Note the requested closures will help accommodate the Snowmobile Parade to kick off the Winterfest activities.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Danforth, seconded by Councilor Madore. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, that of the public. Also noting that there were a couple things in the last order here that were on chat. Sandra Sullivan said, good decision. It looks like Deanna wrote, if approved, I do need at least 4 signatures. Please, tomorrow is fine. Matt said he'll stop down. Julie Archie said Thursday after 4:30 is great. And Peter said, thank you back. But on this order, is there any comment for the public? And seeing none, all those in favor, Councilor Madore,
Aye.
Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Councilor Prey,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
and Chair Goli by. The order passes 7-0. Councilor Prey, if I could have you read order number 7, 2022, please.
Order number 7-2022, providing for approval for the chair of the age-friendly Millinocket Committee to submit the application to the Maine Council on Aging to participate as a pilot site in the municipal data across sectors for healthy aging project. Whereas Millinocket joined the AARP network of age-friendly communities in April of 2019, and whereas age-friendly Millinocket is in the process of writing an age-friendly action plan for the town, and data collection through this project would be available to this process and for future age-friendly planning efforts. Therefore, now be it ordered that the town manager is authorized to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Maine Council on Aging if Millinocket is chosen to participate in this project. Note, there is no financial cost to the town to participate. A copy of the application is attached.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Prey and seconded by Councilor Danforth. Discussion of the council. Councilor Danforth.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you'll see, excuse me, attached to this is the application. It is due tomorrow. So pending approval of the vote today, I will make sure it gets sent where it needs to go tomorrow. And this should start. I think we have a pretty good chance of getting selected. So it would start right away or soon. Well, I'm hoping. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Any other council comments? Councilor Prey.
Jane, you said you're on the group that's choosing can you vote on that?
I'm submitting as the chair of Age Friendly Committee. So I guess you'll have to tell me if there's a conflict.
Well, you're not receiving any of the funds. I would say no, but I don't know what the board may be if it's going to a municipality that you're from. But I think you're allowed to speak on it.
Yeah, there's no funds. We're not receiving any funds. We're just going to be part of this pilot project and get some, technical assistance and
They do the work.
attend
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Thank you, Councilor Prey. Any other council comment? Seeing none, that of the public. Also seeing none, all those in favor, Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor Prey,
Aye.
Councilor McEwen, and Councilor Madore,
Aye.
and Chair Goli, aye. That passes 7-0. Councillor Pelletier, if I could have you read order number 8, 2022, please.
My pleasure, Mr. Chairman. Order number 8-2022, providing for authorization of the town manager to execute and file all necessary paperwork and deeds to complete the sale of a tax acquired property. It is ordered that the town manager be granted authorization to execute and file all necessary paperwork, including signing a municipal release deed to complete the sale of a tax acquired property located on 43 Oak Street, map U04, lot 137. It is further ordered that the tax collector and/or the treasurer be authorized to abate all remaining taxes, sewer fees, and other expenses on the above-mentioned property. All C&D waste will be handled in accordance with the special requirements for sale of property. Any tenant remaining in the property shall be the responsibility of the bidder to evict or manage. The following bids were received on this property, which has a balance of $5,978.22 owed in back taxes, sewer fees, and other costs. 1. Gale Warms, $6,000. 2. Arthur Morris Goer Jr., $6,701.
Second.
There's one last part to that.
Well, this bid was awarded to nobody.
Thank you. Motion by Councillor Pelletier, seconded by Councillor Medora. Councillor Medora?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would, after reviewing both applications, I would offer that I think the first individual, Gail Worms, for $6,000, I would support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Medora. Councillor Bragdon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that the second option is a better choice in my opinion, simply for the fact that he did win the bid. It is a bid for a reason. I would move that we accept Arthur Morris, excuse me if I say this name wrong, Go Jr. as the bid winner.
Is there a second to that motion?
Oh, I'll second it.
Motion by Councillor Bragdon, seconded by Councillor Pelletier to amend the order to award the bid to Otha Morris Goer Jr. for $6,701. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, out of the public. Oh, Councillor Bragdon, my apologies.
The reason for me doing this is in past we've had this discussion before on giving it to the lower bidder, and there was a lot of backlash, and the public had suggested that we move forward with the highest bidder in the future, and that's one of the reasons why I moved to amend this order for the individual who won the highest bid. This is a bidding procedure. This individual did bid more. I do understand that, Ms. Worms, her comment that she had made in reference to why she wanted the property, but it is a bid, and I definitely think that it should be awarded to the highest bidder. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bragdon. Councillor Medora?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, right from the very beginning of these properties, it is and what we put out as far as a bid process is concerned, we have the authority to accept or reject any bid. And we have in the past gone with a lower bidder if the bidder has been an abutting neighbor, has been within proximity, has roots to the community, has had children or families. There are a lot of situations underlying that we have gone ahead and made exceptions and not necessarily take the highest bidder in every occasion. I would dare say, though, over the course of the time, we've probably taken the highest bidder probably 90+% of the time, the top bidder. However, that other 10% has been times where there have been there have been circumstances or whatever that the council has used its own discretion to accept the lower bid if it still takes care of the costs of all the taxes and the sewers and all the other costs that are remaining on the property. We're not in this as a real estate agent. We're not in this necessarily always to go with the highest profit margin. We can award the bid lower. The bid by Gail Worms covers the property expenses. And I just think that I would rather take the consideration, her comments on being a local resident and giving the opportunity to a local resident and the property. So that's why I made that I would like to go ahead and see it in her hands. And I think it's entirely up to the discretion of the council. The high bidder does not always necessarily have to be the chosen one. We've set past precedent on many occasions, and it has worked. Some places as high as we have gone ahead and gone $10,000 lower than the high bid, but it has turned out very well for the community, and the property has been made very, very, the property in question was made very beautiful with a rebuild that was done on it and made into a nice residential home. And with that, I'll say thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. I see a lot of hands up. I'm going to go in order of who I saw go up first. Mr. Manager, you have your hand up.
I do. And speaking as public comment, Peter Jameson, 14 Rush Boulevard.
If you're speaking
Millinocket.
as public comment, I'll go to you after council discussion then.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Councilor Bragdon, then Pelletier.
Councilor Pelletier had his hand up first, so I'll yield to him.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Councilor Madore's synopsis of history is right on, spot on. And he also knows that I've always been a staunch opponent of that track. You know, it's just too much subjectivity being put into something. And given some of the exceptions that he stated, I kind of agree with. You know, if you're an abutting owner, or if you were the previous owner and for some reason didn't resolve your issue and now you're trying to bid to regain your own place, those are about the only two exceptions that I care to make to awarding anything less than the higher bid. You know, we have a responsibility to the taxpayers, hear it all the time. So, like I say, it's been an issue with me since I've been on the council. So I'm for awarding to the higher bidder in this case. There's no exceptions that other than pure subjectivity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pelletier. Councilor Bragdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In response to Councilor Madore and Councilor Pelletier, the same thing Councilor Pelletier said. We made exceptions in the past, and one that I was a part of was there was an abutting person that wanted to tear down the property because of how bad the property was. In this case, it's obvious that both individuals want to remodel. One wants to long-term, one possibly wants to rent, possibly sell. He's not sure. I think that it's an auction for a reason. It's a bid for a reason. It should be awarded to the highest person. And I understand that we have the right to decide whether or not we want to go with them. But in this case, I do not see a reason why we should not award to the highest bidder. They're not an abutting individual. Yes, they want the property, but so doesn't the other person who had the highest bid. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon. I'm going to offer my perspective here as well. Personally, since it is somewhat of a subjective process, as Councilor Pelletier pointed out, and I don't take issue with that. Just looking at the two applications in general, you can see a pretty stark difference in the way that it's not only filled out, but also the intention of it. I think the purpose of having long-term rentals in Millinocket is a very important need for the town right now. Obviously, a lot of people are struggling to find places to rent. It's not very clear in the other application what the intention is. All that I see is that the person owns another property in town already, but that doesn't tell me, sell or rent. I don't really know what that necessarily means. All I feel personally is having long-term rentals and giving a local person the opportunity to provide that is something that I would certainly stand behind. So personally, I will be voting the motion down. Councilor Danforth.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know in the past when we've done this, if a person that has placed a bid is actually attending the meeting. We've asked them if they want to speak on their behalf. It looks like Gail Warmans is here. Would that be okay to have her speak on her behalf?
That's a great recommendation, Jane. Thank you very much. Gail, did you have any comments on this discussion?
Yes, I do live in the neighborhood where that property is. I own a property on Oxford Street. And I run a business there. So I'm not only a graduate of Stearns, I've lived in Millinocket, I'm a business owner. And I also own the twin houses up on Knox Street, which I have renovated, and they are beautiful properties today. So I really want to take an opportunity to take this property to that same level and make it available for, you know, Millinocket residents. I see so many properties going out of town, out of state even, and it's harder and harder for Millinocket people to find places for Millinocket people these days. You know, and I've bid on a couple of other properties. I have not won those properties, one being just recently, and that same bag of trash still sits on the front porch of that house from before the bid even happened. So, you know, I just wanted to make an opportunity to provide housing, you know, where housing is needed. I have 2 long-term rentals for Millinocket residents in the twin houses up on Knox Street. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gail, and thank you. And if the council has any questions specifically for Gail while she's here, and I'll see if the other bidder is also here as well, but any questions for Gail while she's here? All right, seeing none, is the other bidder, Otha Morris Gore, here? I don't see that person represented here. So with that, I'll go to the public and then I'll go back to the council after that. Thank you again, Gail. Mr. Ngata, your hand's been up for a while.
Yes, thank you. I would support you having Gail because she's a local person. I found that as the former code officer, that the local people are more apt to take care of and get the property back up in good standing versus the person from away who comes over every once in a while to look at the property. The other thing that, and we have talked about this thing in the past, was when you put this order in, that you should also include a time frame. Too many times we've passed this property off to a bidder, whether it be the highest bidder or the lowest bidder, anything from $20,000 down to $1. And some of those properties are still sitting there just as they were the day they were handed over. There should be something in this order that says that you have a year, and if you do not complete this thing in a year, then it comes back to the town, so that these houses don't end up still sitting there like with trash on the front porch a year later. So that's all I have to say is and I support Gail's bid. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ngati. And to that point, I do believe that in the deed itself, it states that the person who wins the bid does have to fix at least the exterior of the property within 1 year. Councilor Prey, your hand is up if you had more to add to that.
You're muted, Charlie.
You're on mute.
Yeah, my dogs were barking, so I muted. Anyway, I was going to bring up that same point, Mr. Chairman, and I think we should put it in the order of those requirements that we put into the deeds, because we have added that, I think, for the past 3 years, or maybe a little bit better, that they have a timeline to fix up that property, or else it reverts back to the town.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. And still with the public, Mr. Raymond, your hand's up.
Thank you, Chairman Goley, John Raymond, 236 Highland Avenue. I think there just needs to be some some clarification on this bid process because I understand, like Councilman Madore said in the past, that it's gone to abutting landowners and people, as Councilor Pelletier said, prior landowner, the people who owned it and lost it due to whatever reasons and want to get it back. But after that, it should go to high bidder because I've seen times when prior Officer Lakeman from East Millinocket, used to be a cop in Millinocket, really outbid some people on a property on Rhode Island and didn't get it. And so, you know, we ought to set some type of precedent and do it one way and so everybody knows, because I think if you went that route, you start getting some higher bids too. They know then that they got a, you know, got a chance to, the only way they're going to get it is to bid high, whether it be just, well, I used to be from Millinocket and I used to, and, you know, just the other thing. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Peter Jameson.
Hi, Peter Jameson, 14 Rush Boulevard. I wanted to start by sharing my appreciation and respect for Matt's input and his motion on that as an elected official, echoing feedback he had or the council has received in the past from the public. As elected officials, I know that is that's a very important quality to have, is to listen, to retain, and then to you know, put that into the work that you do as a counselor. I respect that. And you know, and the input of Councilor Pelletier as well. Having, you know, and I agree with the comments by Mr. Raymond as well, that, you know, moving forward, if there was a, you know, there could be a set precedent, you know, in understanding how this would work, you know, whether or not it would be cut and dry with, you know, with abutting landowners, et cetera, but very blatantly stated, you know, this is a bidded process, highest bidder. That being said, that precedent having not been in place at this point, looking at this specific scenario, I would speak in advocacy of our own community member being awarded that bid. Again, respecting in every way the absorption of the feedback from the public and the representation from their council. I think that's very important. I do believe in this situation, I would advocate that property be awarded to our community member Gail, and then a precedent set moving forward to change this towards the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Seeing a comment in the chat, I'll get back to the council in a second, Mike.
Okay.
Susan D'Alessandro, is that deed restriction enforced about reverting to the town after 1 year? Is it possible to add the rules that residents, barring any reasons to the contrary, should get priority? That's a good question, Susan. Your second question in there, I think, is something that, you know, is kind of the point of what's been brought up here. It's a larger discussion that we should have as a council, is if we want to have a precedent set for anything, or a specific set of standards that we follow. The first part is that deed restriction enforced. I'm not aware of that. Mr. Ngati, you are our former code enforcement officer. Is that something that's been enforced by you, or is that another route that takes, if you don't mind speaking to that?
Yeah, there was nothing that I ever saw in the deeds that said that they had to have it fixed up by within a year. Is something that has been very bland, very gray area. That's why I really would like to see it put in the bid process, that so when you put the bid out, put it out for bid, that you say that it has to be fixed up within a year. So that way there, the bidder knows that they're on the clock if they get the bid to have that in a presentable state so that it meets the codes for the town of Millinocket in that time frame. So again, I've never seen anything where they've had to have it fixed up within a period of time.
Thank you, Mr. Ngati. I see Councilor Madore and Prey's hands up. Councilor Madore, then Prey.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to go ahead and say that too, that not only is it hard with the year, I give a point. We had a house on Eastland Avenue, which we gave to the highest bidder. What we found afterwards when we got the house back was the fact that all the pipes have been removed from the inside of the house, the furnace have been removed, and all the hardwood floors have been torn up. And that was on Eastland Avenue, and that was brought back. Then the town got the property back at a much lower value. We had a property in Little Italy that much of the same thing happened. Hardwood floors, molding, pipes torn out of the walls, furnace gone, everything else. And then the town was given the house back at a much lower value. So just because somebody is the highest bidder does not mean that the town isn't going to end up with a finished property, or for that matter, a property that was what it was when we originally sold it. There are chances you take with anything on these. I would much rather err on the side of the local person who is, especially when the difference between the two bids is $700. I don't think $700 is going to make or break the town of Millinocket, and they're certainly not going to push property values up. But somebody with a proven track record and is willing to again invest in the community. We've gone ahead with lower bids before, and there's a beautiful home on Colony with a young couple with a baby that we sold to them for a lesser amount. They fixed the house up, and it's very nice. And same thing with other properties that we've done.
If you don't,
so I'm just saying.
Mind, all I was going to say, Councilor Madore, if anyone else from this point forward has any policy related discussion in terms of how we should be awarding bids, I would just ask that we hold that for another meeting so that can be discussed separately.
The other part of it, Mr. Chairman, the other part I wanted to bring in though is if you do set a precedent of like 1 year time to fix up the property, make sure that you don't end up with what we've had before, which is the property is ransacked. And how do we recoup anything from there by getting the property back after 1 year because the outside or the maintenance hasn't been done on it, but you find out that there's nothing left in the inside except the skeleton of the property.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. Councilor Prey, you had your hand up, and then there's some members of the public. You're muted.
Charlie, you're muted.
Councilor Prey, you're on mute.
So seldom am I on mute. That's the point I was going to raise, that we have an issue before us is awarding the bids that have been presented. And all of these other questions, I think, is going to even involve legal advice. For example, can you discriminate against somebody by saying, if you're not a resident of Millinocket, you don't necessarily get the same consideration. I think the state law was written for the purpose the council gets to make that decision, and we have two bids in front of us. We have, I think, a split council on where it should go. I'm going to support the motion that Mike made on his proposal because I think it's a better assured deal for the town of Millinocket to advance the improvement of that property. I don't want to move the question if other councilors have things to say. I see Tom and some others have their hands up, so I think we should go to the public and maybe the council can then decide where it wants to go.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Agreed. Chuck, and then Chief Malcolm.
Yes, and I don't remember, was Miss Worms one of the bidders?
Yes.
Who was?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just don't remember because her picture is off the screen now. I would say having listened to everything up to now, when the chair offered both bidders to speak, and Ms. Worms is the only one present and gave a very compelling reason why her bid should be considered favorably. If the other bidder, regardless of the amount, was that bent on wanting that property, they would have been here for this meeting to speak as to why they want the property. And they're not here. So they obviously don't want the property for as strong as a reason as Ms. Worms does, and I don't know her from Adam. So my suggestion would be to go with Ms. Worms, especially based on her local roots, her intentions of what to do with that property, and the fact she presented all of that to the council to consider, whereas the other bidder could have done the same thing and maybe they weren't available, but if you want the property that badly, they should have been here on video to present their side. So I would go with Ms. Worms. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Chief Malcolm.
My concerns, Tom Malcolm, Fire Chief, 73 School Street. My concerns based around the talk that we've had again about making some restrictions on these properties. A few years back, and I think it might have been what Councilman Medore was talking about, we talked about, and Mr. Angotti and I put together some stuff that code issues and life safety issues and health issues that we should address with these properties and tell people, you know, they had so long to bring these up. I mean, you're absolutely right. We need housing stock in Millinocket. We need rental properties in Millinocket. There is none. But when we do that, we need to make sure that whoever's going to do that is going to bring these things up to code, so that we're not going to be chasing all the time. And I don't know either one of these people that are applying, but I will tell you from my side as a safety officer, it's a lot easier to deal with somebody in Millinocket than it is to somebody in Massachusetts or Connecticut, and nothing against them, but it's just so much easier for us to be able to work with somebody. You know, I get on the phone and call them and say, hey, listen, this is the issue I've got with what you're doing there. And I just want to bring that forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Malcolm. And Diana in the chat was noting that the application or bid process does not require the bidder to be present at either situation. With that, I'm going to come back to the council and call for a vote on the motion, which was to award the bid to the second bidder, Otha Morris Gore. And with that, all those in favor, Councilor Medore?
Nay.
Councilor McEwen?
Nay.
Councilor Prey?
Nay.
Councilor Danforth?
Nay.
Councilor Bragdon?
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier?
Aye.
And Chair Golub, nay. That would be 2-5. So the motion passes. Is there any other discussion or motion? Or fails, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. Fails. Any other discussion of the council? Councilor Medore?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if we're going to bring this order back up, I would offer to accept the bid of, make a motion to accept the bid of Gail Worms for the property for $6,000.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Medore and seconded by Councilor Prey. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, and that of the public. Also seeing none, all those in favor. I'm sorry?
Sorry, you asked if there was comment. I had my raise temporarily handed. I concur with the bid of Ms. Worms.
Thank you, Chuck. And back to the council, all those in favor of the motion. Councilor Pelletier?
Nay.
Councilor Bragdon?
Nay.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Madore,
Aye.
and Chair Golib, aye. Now the motion passes 5-2. And with that, on the order itself as amended, any further discussion of the council
Move the question.
or that of the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amended order 8/2022, Counselor Madore,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Nay. I'm
and
stubborn that
Chair
way.
Golib, aye. The order passes 6-1 as amended. And with that, Counselor Bragdon, if I could have you read order number 9/2022, please.
Order number 9/2022, providing for authorization for the town manager to execute and file all the necessary paperwork and deeds to complete the sale of tax acquired property. It is ordered that the town manager be granted authorization to execute and file all the necessary paperwork, including signing a municipal release deed to complete the sale of a tax acquired property located on 53 York Street Extension Map U12 Lot 61. It is further ordered that the tax collector and or treasurer be authorized to abate all remaining taxes, sewer fees, and other expenses on the above mentioned property. All C&D waste will be handled in accordance with the special requirement for sale of property. Any tenant remaining on the property shall be responsible of the bidder to evict or manage. The following bids were received for the property, which has a balance of $2,778.18 and owed in back taxes, sewer fees, and other costs. One bidder, Daniel and Melissa
Bernardini.
Bernardini, for $3,005 even. The bid was
Second.
awarded to.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Bragdon and seconded by Counselor Madore. Discussion of the council.
Mr. Chairman,
Counselor Bragdon,
I move that we amend order number 9/2022 to read the bid was awarded to Daniel and Melissa Bernardini.
Second.
motion by Counselor Bragdon and seconded by Counselor Madore to amend the order. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, Counselor Madore,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen.
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
there you go. Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
and Chair Golib, aye. The amendment passes. And now discussion of the order as amended. Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor of the amended order 9/2022, Counselor Pelletier,
Aye.
Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Counselor Prey,
Aye.
Counselor McEwen, Counselor Madore,
Aye.
and Chair Golib, aye. The order passes 7-0 as amended. And with that, Counselor McEwen, if I could have you read order number 10/2022, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, order number 10-2022, providing for approval of amendment of police services contract to provide for additional police services. Whereas Millinocket and East Millinocket are parties to a police services contract provides a budget for 3 patrolmen and a sergeant. And whereas the demand for services is such that additional patrolmen are needed to respond to requests for police services and to provide for public safety. And whereas the parties have agreed to increase the budget to provide for 2 additional patrolmen. Now, therefore, it is ordered that the attached amendment of the police services contract to increase the number of patrolmen and budget for those additional officers is approved. It is further ordered that the town manager is authorized and directed to execute and deliver the amendments. Ordered that the town manager is authorized to take all action necessary to implement an amendment to the contract. It is further ordered that the treasurer transfer funds from the undesignated fund balance to line E0201-1115 contract for police services as additional officers are hired through June 30, 2022 to cover the increased cost of the town and to document the amount of such transfers by written memorandum to the town manager and council on or about July 1, 2022. It is further ordered that the town manager is directed to include the increased cost of the officers in the proposed budget for July 1st, 2022 to 6/30/2023.
Second.
Motion by Councilor McEwen and seconded by Councilor Madore. Discussion of the council. You all just froze. So, oh, there you go. Councilor Prey.
I was waiting, I thought one of the other councilors was in the process. And what is the cost of this? That's the,
Look at the second page of it.
it's 10,000, correct? No, that's what
610,000 is the original amount.
right. It's
If
the
you look at
150,
the second page,
right, 152.
that's correct, and that's once an officer is hired.
That's
So
right. It's
we-
prorated based upon the rest of the fiscal year.
Exactly.
I just wanted the number out there.
Any other council comment? Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor. Oh, I see a hand up. Susan D'Alessandro.
Hi, I'm just a little confused as far as coverage for Millinocket. Does this mean that there would be a sergeant and a patrol person designated to Millinocket at every shift, or how does this translate into coverage?
Thank you for your question, Susan. I think you were also there when we discussed this at a previous meeting about the need because of the calls that we got. I know that the way that it was scheduled before, they did have a sergeant that would be available to Millinocket at certain shifts. The way that this reads is that, which still looks to be very similar. East Millinocket anticipates hiring 5 patrolmen and 1 sergeant in order to provide full-time coverage in Millinocket. So it doesn't necessarily state at what times the sergeant would be available, but it does increase it 2 officers based upon the high call demand that we have. Councilor Madore, your hand is up.
Yes, I was just going to do the same thing you said, Mr. Chairman, and the fact that what this does is it provides that there'll be 2 officers on day and night for the town of Millinocket going forward to better serve the town and to better to protect the officers, so there's not 1 officer on in the evenings in Millinocket alone and has to wait for backup.
Susan, you had any further questions?
I think he just clarified it. That's what I was trying to figure out. Is there going to be 2 officers nighttime and daytime?
Yes.
And that's what this will provide.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Raymond, your hand is up.
Yes, John Raymond, 236 Highland Avenue. My question is, and I don't know if you can come up with this right now or not, but what is the savings to the town of Millinocket? Are we paying more now for our police coverage? And are we gonna pay more with add these 2 more police officers? That's it, and you know, where does that fall? That's what I'm wondering.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. I know that we did put together in the beginning of last year an assessment of what it would look like to hire and attract a new police chief and having our own department. I know Mr. Ngati was a part of that as well, and I believe it was over $1 million for the town to have done that. He's shaking his head in affirmation. And included with that is also something to consider: the manager's time. to have to oversee and run another department. So although there are financial savings, roughly 200,000 based upon that previous projection that we had earlier last year, it also saves a manager a significant amount of time running another department as well, or overseeing another department as well.
Well, actually, well, thank you for that. But what I guess I should have said was, what were we paying for our police department before we started this? And what are we paying after we add these two new officers?
Mary Alice, if you're still on the call, I think you could help answer that. I know the salary alone was over $500,000 and all the benefits and everything put that far over that. Do you have a recollection of that cost?
Well, I right off the top of my head, nothing I'd want to, be quoted on. But, this was a startup budget. And, they had a different staffing arrangement. So, I think we've got to come back to the table because now we've got history. And when we go and have the next budget, we're going to be speaking from a point of experience and would be in a better position to be able to answer how things look now. I mean, one of the savings was that they were going to have, they had a different, weren't going to, one person per shift and with a roving sergeant, if you will. Well, that's changed. So we may have some pluses and minuses when we go to look at the budget again. Maybe they were high in some areas, low in others. I think we've got to wait until we, get through this budget period to see how things compare.
That's basically what I was asking, is because I know like Dick Angotti said that, yeah, it would cost probably over $1 million to get it started up if you were starting a new one and everything. But with what we were paying the town of Millinocket to what, we were supposed to, because we've always been told that consolidation should save us some money. And I just want to see if that's actually happening. Are we saving money? And then down the road, are we going to be saying, well, geez, now 5 officers and a sergeant's not enough. We need 2 more officers and we got to go buy a couple cruisers now and I'm just wondering where it's going to stop. That's all. Thank you.
Well,
just to clarify,
the equipment, we are, I mean, if this contract were to end, we get the equipment back. I mean, there is a capital charge in that. But one thing was, this is a non-union group. So they have a different benefit structure. And the workers' comp, we had a high workers' comp rate. So we got some savings just with that part of the contract. So, there are some differences on that front that will continue.
Thank you, Mary Alice. And just to clarify, John, I will go to the council to respond to you as well. It is not a consolidated service that we have with the police. We are contracting with them. There is a difference in that. If we consolidated, then that would mean that we all collectively are members of the police department as the 2 or 3 towns. Right now, we are just contracted for their services, so we are not consolidated. Councilor Prey, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to comment. There is short-term savings at where we are at this particular point. And the difficulties is comparing, if anything we do on comparison, is you got to go back to the older budget when we did have our own department. What would be, if we were still up to the force that we're at, what would be the inflational cost to that? If you can't go back and say, well, 2 years ago, we were only paying 900,000. Now we're paying around 600 and some, high 600s. We're adding to it because we want to add additional officers. We already cut 1 officer before when we had the Millinocket department, and we had a couple of incidences that we added an officer. So it's a moving target based upon the demand. There's a lot of money that's going to overtime right now on the current officers that we have, and we'll have savings by having a full-time additional officers in that we won't be paying overtime to some other people that drives up those budgets.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Councilor Pelletier.
Yeah, and to Mr. Raymond's question regarding comparison of where we were at and to what we're into now is not a very fair comparison, because we could not maintain what we had at that cost. It would have risen given the changes in labor costs and just availability of officers. We may not even be able to maintain the force we wanted to have, the kind of coverage we wanted. I think we saved a lot in this transition, I believe. And going forward, if you're going to make a comparison, make it a comparison to what other towns our size are be able to run their own force at versus what we used to, because that's history. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Peltier. John, did you have any other comments or responses to that?
No, Chair Goley, but I'm all set. I just was trying to, bring that out to see. And thank you for the comments that everybody made.
Thank you very much. Chuck Pringle, you have your hand up, and then Chief Malcolm.
Yes, sir. I would be curious to know how is the relationship between the Millinocket Fire Department and the East Millinocket Police Department? If maybe it appears Mr. Malcolm is on this call as well. And second, Mr. Raymond brings up some good points. And with that, I would also add that I think it's a little bit premature, it appears, for Millinocket to even think about trying to reconstitute a police department this soon, since all of the previous legal issues that occurred. I just think that the current arrangement seems to be going well. We seem to be having the appropriate coverage. The council is already entertaining adding paying for a couple of extra positions through East Millinocket for additional police and law enforcement coverage. But I would just temper that the council and the town should not rush to all of a sudden think about, well, should we think about making our own police department back again? With that said, I am curious to know how the working relationship has been with the existing Millinocket Fire Department and the East Millinocket Police Department, if that could be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck, for your comments. And Chief, I was going to go to you next. Feel free to address that and anything else you want to say.
I'm Malcolm, 73 Schools. I was going to speak as a citizen, not as fire chief. My concern is, you say by hiring 2 more officers, we're going to have 2 officers on each shift. There'll be 2 officers in Millinocket on each shift. I don't know how they're going to do it with that amount of people. With 4 officers, they're not going to be able to have 2 officers on each shift 24/7. You take your Charlie's saying 7 officers, okay?
6.
6, okay. That would make it a little better. My concern is, are we going to have 2 officers in Millinocket on both shifts? And I don't know if that's something that or if that's just what they are anticipating doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Malcolm. Any other public comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Sandra Stoltz. Yes, Peter.
I just wanted to offer to look into that further, to research for more clarification on the coverage of officers in Millinocket's both shifts.
Are you all right there, Councilor Prey?
Well, it was a discussion that we had with them of what they're going to provide for coverage. There's some concerns in reference to how long it took them. But listen, there's been a shortage of police officers from Kittery, Maine to Fort Kent. Lincoln was down to 2 officers at one time. Obviously, ours dissolved through a series of incidences, but I think that the police chief has been doing a great job at trying to recruit. This is an attempt to meet our demands in the town. We ourselves had cut one officer to make the budget work, and we had a couple of incidences, and we added an officer. And we're still in that situation of addressing the concerns on the street of Millinocket. And I think Chief Madonna came forward with a good proposal to provide the coverage, to increase the coverage in Millinocket, and we'll see how it works and what we can adapt to and what we need to address as that goes on. But I think that's what the purpose of this order is to add those additional officers. It will probably take them a few months to fill those positions, and hopefully that the new contract agreement will provide an incentive for somebody to come and join the East Millinocket Police Department to cover Millinocket and the communities in the area overall in this agreement that we have. If there's trouble in one town, we all respond to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. I agree with you entirely. Perhaps not with the expletives, but to your point, yeah. In the chat, Sandra Sullivan asked, am I hearing this correctly? Right now, only 3 officers and a sergeant are assigned to Millinocket, so 1 per shift. Does anyone wonder why drug use and mental health issues are up? Thank you, Sandra, for your comment. Any other public comment? Chuck, your hand is up again, and then I'll go to you, Mike, when we're back to the council.
Yes, I noticed my question to the Millinocket Fire Department chief went unanswered. My question earlier was, what is the current working relationship?
Mr. Chairman, that has nothing to do with the order that's in front of the council right now, and it puts the chief in an uncomfortable position in the public to address something like this. It has nothing to do with the existing order.
May I finish my question, please?
Your question
Chuck,
has nothing to do with the existing order.
Okay, but it relates to, yes, go ahead.
I would ask that you email our manager that question, since it does not pertain to this order, as Councilor Madore pointed out. If you see a connection, that's fine. Just ask that question through manager@millinocket.org, or you can give a call, and then we can have a response to you, at a next meeting, or he could respond to you that way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, back to council. Councilor Madore?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I call for the vote.
And on order number 10, 2022, all those in favor, Councilor Madore?
Aye.
Councilor McEwen?
Aye.
Councilor Prey?
Aye.
Councilor Danforth?
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon?
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier?
Aye.
And Chair Gully, aye. The order passes 7-0. And Councilor Danforth, if I could have you read order number 11, 2022, please.
Excuse me, yes. Order number 11-2022, providing for approval to revise fiscal year 22 school special dedicated revenues / clearing account. Whereas order 181-2021 approved an estimated fiscal year 22 school special dedicated revenue or clearing account budget of $1,570. And whereas the current budget is estimated to be $3,550,816, it is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approve the revised special dedicated revenue budget of $3,550,816. It is therefore ordered that $1,500,000 is transferred from the unassigned fund balance to fund the additional cash flow requirements.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Danforth, seconded by Councilor McEwen. Discussion of the council. Seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor, Councilor Madore. Oh, Councilor Prey, you have your hand up. A little bit late there.
I apologize. I was finding the order. Just for clarification, this is the ARPA funds to the school system. Is that correct?
This is Yes, this is COVID-related grant funding that had, not been budgeted for, but affected the budget and the order.
And just for clarification, as my understanding is, this is money that they will receive, but the town will front the money until it comes.
Correct.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Susan, to the public, Susan D'Alessandro asks, what's the source of this money? As the manager just pointed out, it's COVID-related funds. If you want to elaborate to that, Mr. Manager.
I'm happy to. Yes, last year the school system received a large ESSER grant from the federal government, COVID-related funding, and this year received yet another COVID-related grant from the federal government through the ARPA program. So that's what these funds are.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And Mary Alice, can I ask you while you're here what your assessment of this is? Obviously, this is a large amount of money to front, for an incoming source of funds. Are you concerned with this, or could you elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, I think this is a lot of money, and I felt that it was necessary. First of all, the budget estimated $1.6 million. And as you can see, we're going to be twice that amount. So, so therefore, I feel the budget order had to be revised to approve the funding of these special revenue accounts at that level. And I also felt that it was important. The tax raise is $5.8 million. And we're looking at a special revenue side on the school side of $3.5 million. Now that we're going to be cash flowing that. Right now, we're about almost $300,000 that we have funded out of, between what they have spent and what they have received for reimbursements. So this is a significant demand on the town's cash. And I think with asking that this $1.5 million be in the, be moved to the assigned fund balance, it raises the question, do we want to hold the cash flow of these special revenues at $1.5 million, where, the school would have to, I don't know I don't know how aggressive they can be, or what their schedule is on how often they apply for reimbursements for these grants. So I guess my question is, do we want to set a limit that we're going to cash flow, that, that we would have out there for, that the money, that we haven't been reimbursed from this spending? And, I don't have a cash flow schedule from the school, so I don't know how this is going to play out.
And on that point, the unassigned fund balance that you're looking to, or at least that this order looks to transfer money from, that's the town municipal side, not the unassigned fund balance of the school's account, correct?
No, it's the town. It's the town side.
Yeah.
And, and to put some perspective, the tax raise was 5.8 million. And we're looking at a special revenues budget of 3.5 million. That's outside of the tax rate. Now that they're going to get reimbursed for that, but there is some timing issues on that. So at what point does the town want to revisit what, if we're out there waiting for reimbursements, at what level do you want me to come back and raise the issue of the exposure?
Yeah, and on that timing point, is this something time sensitive? Do you feel, as the school expressed something like that this is time sensitive? Or do you think that we have maybe a couple more weeks to figure out what schedule might be put into place of getting reimbursements and things?
I think we've got some time. Yes, I think we've got some time to talk about it. Yeah. But I do think that, we needed to get this part, the order approved, to approve that the budget, because it is twice of what the original budget order was.
Thank you. Councilor Prey, then Councilor Madore.
I would request that we direct the town manager and the treasurer to meet with the school and come up with a proposal so that we can address our concerns as a municipality. For some who may not remember on here, a number of years ago, I think it was 2011, when Governor LePage reduced funding, school funding, because the town wouldn't purchase the landfill in East Millinocket. With the town of East Millinocket, money we never got back from the state, around $250,000. But anyway, we should really work out a process and system where the town and the school are on the same page and understanding by the school system. The town is giving up money in the interim until we get that back. We're giving up our flexibility to address municipal problems unless we have a clear process for them to file on a timely basis to get reimbursed those funds that they're expending. And I think it, if they could do it, well, I'll leave it up to the manager and the school superintendent and treasurer probably to work out a good system where we can have a cash flow where that money's coming back into the town treasury. And report back to the council with an agreement.
Thank you, Councilor Prey. Councilor Madore.
Yeah, until such time as we can get those answers, I am asking that this order be tabled until we can get a better understanding of how this is going to be reimbursed back to the community and on what time scale.
That
have
wasn't
a
actually a
question.
motion.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Mary Alice, 1 second, please. That was not
Okay.
a motion. You were just asking Mike.
No,
And I was gonna ask
I'm requesting that
you-
we table order number 11, 2022.
Requesting is not a motion, Mike,
Right.
but Mary Alice did have something that she wanted to say
Okay.
in regards to
let
this,
her go.
because I think she did support having this pass, I believe. So Mary Alice, did you want to speak to that?
Well, right now, as the last report I saw, the school had spent 1.1 million. So if you wanted, if this is tabled, is my instructions that the school can spend $1.5 million as what was originally, estimated in the budget work order. I mean, in the budget order, rather.
Okay. In that case, then I would make a motion that we table order 11-2022 until the next council meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Madore and seconded by Councilor Bragdon. All those in favor, Councilor Prey,
Aye.
Councilor McEwen,
Aye.
Councilor Madore,
Aye.
Councilor Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier,
Aye.
and Chair Galiba, aye. The motion is tabled to the next council meeting. And with that, Councilor Prey, if I could have you read order number 12, 2022, please.
Order number 12-2022, providing for approval for temporary part-time employee. It is ordered that the town manager is authorized to hire a community initiative director as a temporary part-time employee of the town of Millinocket with the duties described in the job description attached hereto. And it is further ordered that $16,445 is transferred from the unassigned fund balance to the general fund department number 101 expense line and other appropriate expense lines of the budget to fund this order and the employee's position through June 30th, 2022. The treasurer is directed to allocate the funds and among the expense lines of the budget as necessary for payment of the wages and benefits of this position. It is further ordered that the town manager is directed to include the cost of the employee in the proposed budget for 07/01/2022 to 06/20/23. God.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Prey, seconded by Councilor Madore. Just to point out to the council, as this reads, this is a order of approving a part-time employee. This is not a personnel discussion. I just want to make that very clear. Any comments from the council? Counselor Pelletier.
Personally, from the description of the job that's been put together by the council and the advertising of that description, this is obviously meant to be a full-time position. And in no sense do I see grant management being temporary, given most grants, as we're finding out, run well over a year. So for that reason, I'll be voting against this.
Thank you, Counselor Pelletier. Any other council comment? Counselor Danforth.
Excuse me. Hold on. Excuse me. I too support that this would be a full-time position. It was something that we talked about a great deal ahead of time. So without getting into this any further, I know I'm not going to support this order. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Danforth. Any other council comment? Seeing, Counselor Bragdon, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of just echoing the same things that have been said. When we came up with what we wanted for this position, I don't feel like it was actually implemented correctly. As been stated, I think it's very important that this is full-time for all the projects that we have going on and all the ambition that we have and goals that we have set for this year. I think it's very important we uphold those standards. So I will also not be voting in favor of this order. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Bragdon. Any other council comment? And seeing none, that of the public. Susan D'Alessandro asks, what is the source of this money? This order specifically, as it reads, is transferring $16,445 from the undesignated fund balance into the general fund department number 101 expense line. So this would come out of the undesignated funds if approved. Any other public comment? Susan, oh, your hand is up also. Susan, your hand is also up. Did you want to comment as well? Okay,
yeah, the chat thing was old news. That was about the prior situation. I just wanted to agree with Councilor Danforth and the others that have spoken. I don't see how this is possible to not be a full-time position. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Susan. Mr. Ngati, your hand is up.
Yeah, Richard Angoli, 222 Katahdin Avenue, Millinocket, Maine. In the job description, it says this is a temporary or part-time, full-time position subject to an annual funding of the town council until such time the council has evaluated the need for the position and to authorize it to be a permanent basis. That statement in itself says that this could be a part-time position for the first 6 months until you go into budget season. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ngati. Just to clarify, that was not on the official order that we passed. It did not say part-time on it. Any other public comment? Seeing none. And back to the council. All those in favor, Councilor Pelletier.
Nay.
Councilor Bragdon.
No.
Councilor Danforth.
No.
Councilor Prey.
Aye.
Councilor McEwen.
No.
Councilor Madore.
Aye.
And Chair Golub, nay. That motion, or the order, fails 2-6. Excuse me, 2-5. And with that, that brings us to the Warrant Committee for January 27th, 2022 council meeting. There'll be myself and Councilor Bragdon if you're available.
It will be a pleasure.
All righty. Any chair committee reports? Councilor Prey.
Not a chair report, but I raised a question earlier in reference to us meeting maybe on off week. And you directed the manager to to do some work on that. Probably it might be advisable to send a polling out to the councilors to see what day and what time might be best, and we can kind of respond to a poll instead of doing it here or something. I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
Councilor Ray, earlier in the meeting, I offered to do that. I'll send an email out to everyone for a poll.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Danforth?
Yeah, I just want to mention there is an age-friendly Millinocket meeting. It's going to be Tuesday on the 18th at 4 p.m. I have already sent the Zoom link and the agenda to Design Lab, and it's posted under that committee. So perhaps this could be one of the first things that's moved up to front and center so people know about a meeting next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Any other chair committee reports? Councilor Bragdon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Never mind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to apologize for the events committee. Coincidentally, I had a very big family emergency come up about a half hour before that meeting. So I was unable to attend. And coincidentally, my email was, I had some issues with my email and didn't have access to it for 3 days. So now that it's back, I'm hoping to reschedule the meeting either to next Tuesday or the following, because we do have a lot of goals that we really got to start working on in order to get them done. So the plan is to shoot for next Tuesday. If it doesn't end up being,
As long as it doesn't coincide with the age-friendly meeting.
no,
We've got some people that cross over. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I will try to work around that. Of course, you know, there are other things going on too. So I will do the very best that I can to work around everything. So I'll be sending out an email to everybody either today or tomorrow.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon. Any other chair committee reports? As mentioned earlier, sustainability meeting will be scheduled. We'll also follow up on that website suggestion. We'll discuss Elks property and other issues. And also Economic Development Committee will put out a meeting as well in the coming weeks. One of those issues to be discussed, as we had mentioned here before, is the economic aspects of the short-term rentals and making a recommendation to the council to then make a recommendation, to ask for the planning board to make a recommendation based upon that. With that, seeking a motion, 2-minute public comment. Anyone from the public have any comment that they would like to have? Mr. Ngati?
Thank you. This doesn't have to be answered tonight. It's a very big concern of mine. I sent an email to all the council earlier this last week, and I was blocked by a counselor. That block is from a town paid email address. You should not be blocking the residents of the town of Millinocket. So I want that person to unblock me so that I can participate with them as a resident and a taxpayer of the town of Millinocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I'm not sure what blocking means or how one does it. Perhaps you could reach out to the manager and he can assist with that issue. Any other public comment? Stephanie Jameson asked, Matt, will the events committee meeting link be on the town website?
Yes,
So
typically what I do is I send it to Diana and I also tag along Design Lab in the email, and they typically put it on the town's website. But as Councilor Danforth stated, hopefully we'll get that tab and it will be easily accessible in the near future.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon, and to Stephanie, who said perfect thanks. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Medora, seconded by Councilor Danforth. All those in favor, Councilor McEwen?
Aye.
Councilor Bragdon?
Aye.
Councilor Pelletier?
Aye.
Councilor Danforth?
Aye.
Councilor Prey? You got to unmute it to say aye.
Nay.
Yeah,
or nay.
all right.
Counselor Madore
Aye.
and Chair Gully, aye. We are adjourned 6-1. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.